Dillian Whyte did an interview with Sky Sports, and all I can say is Dillian is delusional. Before I get into that, hit the thumbs up, sub, and notification bell. That way you get updated when I drop the newest content like this. With that being said, let's get into the video. I tried to do the best that I could to show y'all 2 still shots of the actual knockdown. They're very blurry because I tried to zoom in, but what Dillian Whyte claimed was he wasn't knocked out by the uppercut. He was knocked out by being pushed, and the back of his head hit the canvas, and that's why he couldn't recover. He felt like the referee should have gave him more time. However, I did little free shots, still shots to show y'all that that is not the case. When he was uppercutted, and yes, Tyson Fury did push him back, because it looked like Dillian was falling into him. He got pushed backwards. He fell on his right shoulder, and then he fell with his neck raised up before he went flat. At no point in time did he land on his head. So that's what those pixelated pictures are trying to show, and I'm sorry I couldn't show them better. Moving on from that, he also said it was a 50-50 fight, that he didn't get outclassed, and I completely disagree. And everybody who's been around my channel, I picked Dillian Whyte to beat Tyson Fury. I said I would not be surprised if he sparked Tyson Fury. And then after the fight, I made a video saying he looked like he was drugged or he had never trained a day for this fight. And that's how he looked. He was completely outclassed. The first round, I gave it to him because he did land body shots. But Tyson Fury didn't really do anything when Dillian came out in the southpaw stance. That first round, Tyson was just watching him. Didn't really throw a lot back. So I gave it to Dillian Whyte by default. But rounds 2 through 6 leading up to the knockout, it wasn't even competitive. Dillian Whyte did horrible. He looked like a D-level fighter. He looked like the type of guy that you would put in front of a guy to pad their resume. That's how bad this performance was. I'm telling y'all, I don't see how he trained for this fight, and I don't see how he's this delusional, because from the first round to the second round, he was gasping for air. Like he was gasping for air. He was already tired. Going into the second round, he was pushing his punches. He had no pop. He was winging at the air, not setting them up. He was standing straight up, not bending at the legs. There was nothing. There's no saving grace in this, and I don't understand how you could be that delusional. Like, Tyson Fury completely dominated him. It was bad. It was ugly. And that's why I said, you waited over 1,000 days. You waited 3-4 years for this? This is how you came out? Look, it's one of 2 things. One, Dillian has a horrible team around him, and he needs to fire them all if he's going to continue boxing and get some people who can actually train him. Or 2, the dude just does what he wants, and nobody tells him what to do, and this is the results of that. Because he looked horrible. This is the worst he ever looked. And had he looked like this his entire career, he wouldn't have been able to get into the ring with Tyson Fury. That's how bad he looked in this fight. That's it. There's no you got pushed, that's why you got no. You got knocked out because it looked like you never trained for the fight. You got knocked out because you walked into an uppercut. You got knocked out because you were outclassed. And I like Dillian Whyte. I like him. Still, I don't turn my back on fighters when they get knocked out, because in the end of the day, you got to have a winner. You got to have a loser. Regardless if I'm like them or not, if they lose, they lose. I'm going to keep liking them. One loss doesn't define, or even 2 or 3 losses in this case, doesn't define somebody if I like them or not. I base it off of their characteristics. I base it off of, how they act, how they talk. But what I don't like is you made all that shit talk, had a 5-minute long laughing in the interview just to get beat up worse than Wilder did. You got beat up worse than Wilder. You were laughing at him, talking about he got beat up so bad. You didn't even last as long as Wilder. You got beat up worse than Wilder. At least the 3 fights that Wilder had with Tyson Fury, they were somewhat competitive, especially the first one. But you weren't even competitive. And now you're making excuses. That's why I'm bringing up Wilder, because he said Wilder just keep making excuse after excuse after excuse. And here you are being a hypocrite because you're making excuses of why you got knocked out. Again, I will restate to end the video. I like Dillian Whyte, but here's the facts. One, you didn't train for the fight properly. There's no way that you trained for the fight and look that bad. Two, you were outclassed completely. Three, that uppercut, it may not have slept you, but you were out of the fight. The push, four, had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it. Five, you can't blame the referee because the referee watched you get up, stopped the count at 8, let you walk to him. He waved you to walk to him, and then you fell into the referee. And that's when he called the fight off because of your inability to have composure over your own body because you were that out of it. Look, dude, Dillian, you lost the fight. You got beat up. It is what it is. Where you go from here, I don't know. That type of performance, there's no way you'll be a world champion. There's no way. I don't care what Tyson Fury told you in your ear. There's no way that you'll be a world champion. So if you do continue to box at 34 years old, you got to take this shit serious. You do. Because that type of performance, Deontay Wilder, who you were chasing for all those years, bruh, you would have been going home in an ambulance. Like, not home, but you would have been going to the hospital in the ambulance. There's no way that you would have beat. Deontay Wilder would have killed you. He would have killed you. That's how bad this performance was. AJ would have killed you. Usyk would have embarrassed you worse than Tyson Fury did. There's not one top heavyweight. In fact, who you were scheduled to fight in October, Otto Wallin, bruh, he probably would have knocked you out with this type of performance. Come on, the only person you have to blame is yourself. So whether it's your team letting you down or you letting yourself down, you need to go back and not do interviews like this because it's going to make people not like you and you're a likable person. On that note, I'm out. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section.